So it's showing 4 p.m. I think it's they're starting to cascade in, but the screen's not up.
All right, folks, I'm letting everybody in here, so hang on just a minute and we'll get everybody added in. And we're just about ready to go. We got our presenters awaiting us. So we will get started. So let me go through my checklist so I didn't screw anything up. Yep. Okay, good. All right, so welcome to our 4th ever Hump Day Hangar Presentation, sponsored by supercub.org and the Not So Straight and Level podcast. Your support helps us do what we do, so thank you for that. I'm going to start off today with a little bit of sad news. Galen Hanselman, author of Fly Idaho, Montana, Utah, and Baja, and a great researcher and curator of backcountry strips, has passed away. His contributions to aviation safety through cataloging backcountry airstrips to aid pilots are going to be aiding pilots for many years to come. So be thinking about him and his family. Next week, we've got Jeff Russell and we have Jeff Russell and Jeff Plants will be doing a presentation on their trip to Alaska next week, and you don't want to miss either of these two fellas. If you're watching this on YouTube Live, we'll try to watch the chats over there, and we'll be watching the chats on the Zoom chat. So if you have questions later, you probably want to ask them through the Zoom chat. That's the best way to do it. And so we'll roll right in here. Some of us who've been around long enough that the name Airframes Alaska means airframes. And a lot has happened at Airframes over the last few years, not the least of which was acquiring Alaskan Bushwheel and becoming the manufacturer of those big tires we all know and love. But that's really enough of me talking. I am going to just turn it right over to Sean McLaughlin, CEO of Alaskan Bushwheels.
So do I have the controls?
You have the control.
Okay, I have the controls. Hello, everybody. So again, my name is Sean McLaughlin. I'm the CEO and I'm the majority owner of Airframes Alaska. For those of you that are curious, it's 68 degrees here in Alaska, maybe 5-mile wind out of the north, looking beautiful. Just so you can see what I'm looking at. I hope you can see. If not, I'm sorry, but come back around this way. We're going to show you today our brand new Palmer facility. So this company, I took over and started owning it around 2010. I moved to Alaska in 2005. I'm a Cub pilot. I'm the father of 10 kids, 4 of which have some relationship to flying. I had this last hunting season, I had my first Super Cub cartwheel. So hopefully I'm a member of the club by now. I don't know, I haven't been doing this for 40 years, but I've been doing it as long as I've lived in Alaska. So behind me is our brand new building. We're sitting on a brand new 12-acre campus. It used to be that Airframes Alaska was in 4 buildings in Birchwood, Alaska, near Chugiak. And about a year and 5 months ago, we acquired this lot and started building the office building behind me. Again, we're on a 12-acre campus here. Again, if you go look over here at all these, you'll see all these ATCO trailers behind me. That is a rental tenant on our land, but ultimately our cap here. So if you ever come to here and you don't mind one-way strips into commercial areas, there will be we've been plotted for a strip right over there. We have 1 acre of inside manufacturing facilities here as well. That part kind of came with the deal. And then we augmented it by refurbishing that whole space, which was built in the 80s, and then adding the office building in back of me. So right from there, we're going to go right inside and start showing you around. Again, don't get the back of my head all the time. Yeah, you got to say I can talk like this, so you can. Yeah, that's better. Yeah, and I can see myself on it. Okay, here we go. Okay, so welcome to the first floor of our new office building. I'll turn this way, and this side is actually our showroom. So we've started moving things into our showroom. Incidentally, we moved into this space. Some of our staff moved in November of last year. A bunch more moved in February. we're slowly still building out and hitting punch lists and things like that. As you'll notice from the showroom, just a couple of quick things. Some of you may have heard about a year ago as well, we purchased Alaska Tent and Tarp, which was a local company, 60 plus years old, that built tents for extreme conditions. And some of you might wonder why an airplane company ever decided or thought that buying a tent company made sense. And for that, we have Steve to thank, because if you look on pages 1, 2, and 4 of your Super Cub calendar, you'll notice that there's a bunch of Super Cubs that happen to also have tents in the picture. And I loved it when I saw it. That was not a product placement. We didn't pay for it. But that's the life, that's the excuse, or that's the reason, if you will, for why we made this acquisition. Behind me are some of the tents. This was a tent we came out with last year when we first acquired the company. We took the famous Alaska tent, the Arctic oven, and this one we designed for weight, so that it was a better product for Super Cub people to bring along with, or other people who are flying to take along with them on an adventure. Another cool product that you guys have probably all heard about at this point is the 4-place fuselage. We have sold quite a few of these. We spent, about 2 years ago, we spent a lot of time taking an old STC and building all the jigs so we could produce these things in a factory setting. This is actually the golden key from that whole adventure. And as we walk around the shop, you're going to see that I think we've built 7 or 8 now to date. So this has been a really interesting product. So this is our showroom. These are our tents and our airplane products. And over here, just to give you the full story here, right where I'm standing now will be a conference room, not quite put in yet. And over here, we have one of our employee lounges. We have, as a company, we have 80 employees. Of them, about 60 of them work in this facility. We run right now, because of COVID, 3 shifts around the clock to keep separation for all our employees. And they can come in here and they can cook and do all the things, keep all their food in the fridge. We've got glass fronted refrigerators, so we don't have any lab projects going in there for very long. This area here that I'm on, my friend, you stand there and I'll come down and I'll look at the floor, tip it a little bit. You'll notice I'm on this piece of rug that's actually looks like a runway. It goes from the front door of the building right into our manufacturing facility. All our employees basically come down this runway and into our shop every morning for their shifts. This room on the right here for our new facility is actually where we close the deal. This is where we actually meet our staff. Either we're meeting them over a Zoom call like you are here, or we're meeting in person. And this is where we're figuring out, for instance, someone doing a Cub build, all the parts they're going to need, all the different details and mods they're going to want. This is where all that goes down. And now, this is my favorite part. You got to wait. Okay, I'm going to walk through. You can watch this. It's like going on a Star Wars deck. You ready? Come on in. So we've just switched from office space into manufacturing space. On my right here is actually the will call counter. So if you were coming to this facility to pick up products, you would come to this counter to receive them. Behind it is shipping and receiving. So everybody's buying by mail order. It all happens on that side, and we'll see it later in the tour. If you're an employee, you're coming in here and you're reading all your employee notices on this wall. These are all locker rooms, male and female locker rooms for the staff. And then we immediately end up right in our first manufacturing setting here at Airframes Alaska. And that is basically tail wheels, wheels and brakes. Kyle, come on over here for a minute. You got to get on the Zoom call. Kyle, he's the managing foreman for this area. Yep, take the mask off, bring him over here. How's it going? Good. Meet Kyle. So if you have a tail wheel, wheel and brake, either he or one of his staff has actually built it. Give him a quick update on what you guys do. Just couple seconds.
We pretty much just spin off an awful lot of wheels, brakes, and tail wheels off the assembly line. More the same every day.
So this is the guide. Okay, so now you can put a face with it whenever you pick up something, and then you can look at these tables here. You can see these are products that are being ready for inspection, final inspection, and so on. So here, we'll come this way now. And we're going to move now again. It's kind of a 1 acre inside space. We're going to do a big sort of 360 through it, starting right here. We're moving first into the Cnc shop. So this is where all the Cnc water jet, press brake, mill, lathe are all here. The foreman of this department's here, so we'll go over and say hi. What are you doing? Taking the trash out? Okay, getting coolant. All right, you got some guests here. Hi, Gareth. So what are we doing right now? You can take your mask down for a minute. running key 3 attach bracket. Start with a block, turn into that, and then I put it over here to finish it off. I haven't started that off yet. Very good, very good. Thanks, Matt. Yeah. Hi, guys. You can see on his computer he's working something here. I don't know what it is, but it's all happening right here. We'll come on over here. This area here that's all blocked off behind me, I'll tell you something kind of cool here. This is our senior machinist works here, a guy named John Marcus. He's one of the longest standing members of our company. Came with the acquisition and has never left, although he has told us recently, actually for the last 2 years, that he's ready to retire. He does all of our jig work, complicated rework. He's sort of the jack of all trades that kind of keeps everything together and running. A cool thing behind him. This is actually a pair of, or not pair, but one side of a titanium PA-18 landing gear. About 11 pounds lighter than normal landing gear. It's exactly identical to our current landing gear, but made out of titanium. So John's making first articles that are going to go into testing this summer with a pilot here in Alaska. This area here is where we do two things. This is the sheet metal shop, so we build all the pistol flaps here. So they're in different areas. Like if you look over here, here's a set that's going into final inspection. Yep, I'll see if I can point it out. I won't break it, but there you go. This is also the area that's perfect. Yep, and then bring it this way. Oh man, we're a great team. We're a great team. Okay, so and then this is also the area where we're going to start building our brand new aluminum PA-18 struts, which compared to our current struts are 12 pounds lighter. You don't have to paint them. They're a really cool product. The rivets for them are huge, and they're basically a big rivet operation between an end piece and some aluminum strut material I'll show you later on. But all that gets done in this shop. Again, we have 3 shifts to kind of keep people separated now, but they would all be right here. Incidentally, yeah, it's about 4:13 here in Alaska. It's kind of a quiet time in the shop, but you can imagine normally if it wasn't COVID and we had people running a normal shift, this would have about 50 people in it. Man, is that OSHA?
It's my jungle gym.
You feeling better today?
Oh yeah.
Okay,
Doing
good. So say hello.
How's it going?
So we've now moved into the welding shop. These guys this is the 4-place, what's it called? Master jig. Yes, exactly. Thank you. So this is a 4-place master jig, and they're actually, are you pulling one out or putting one in?
Just wrapping it up, getting all the sub-assemblies put together. So this is where we put the firewall, cabin section, top deck, tail section, and all fix them together into their gear fittings and wing fittings, and then it's ready for final operation.
Sis boom ba.
Yep.
So these guys do great work back here, and we'll come along this way. You can give you kind of a look at it from this side too. So you can kind of see that little bit of the jig and how things are working here. This is kind of an old school jig. It's a repurposed straightening jig that a customer gave us, and we used it for the 4-place because it happened to be big enough. Our more normal jigs look more like this. So these are different sections of 4 places, 3 places, 2 places, wide body, fuselage, all along here. And if you look kind of at the walls here, you'll see that some of the other jigs are hanging on the walls. And, different sub pieces are made and hung up over here. And if you come along this way, up hanging in the rafters, you'll see those are our golden keys, or original Piper fuselages for research. And then we'll move this way. Gabe still here or no? No? Okay. Another little interesting thing here. So, obviously this is a highly regulated shop because we're building all FAA approved parts. One of the things we did, and there's another 4-place going out right here. Actually, this is one where we're building just the frame without all the pieces and parts on it. But come on over here. I'll show you one of the interesting ways that tents and airplanes come together. Let's see if he doesn't have the master here, but one of the things that we're going to come around this way so I can show it to you. One of the things we inherited was with Arctic ovens. These things again they're used on both poles, all kinds of crazy places in the world, -60, winds blowing 80 miles an hour, and they use this spider, and this spider holds all the main poles of the tent together. It's pretty heavy, and it's frankly kind of lame. And one of the most common, we give kind of huge warranties on all our stuff. So we end up replacing these. These guys will call and say, "Yep, the spider broke. It was 80-mile-an-hour winds. I know it was 80-mile-an-hour winds, but it broke, and no, I want a new one." So we took this and we redesigned this using what we know of aircraft manufacturing. And this is the new spider that we build now, which we're building out of 4130 tubing. And this is almost twice as strong, and we're pretty excited about it. And we actually had this tested out in this last winter in a couple of major storms here in Alaska. We sent them out to some of the to some key groups and said, "Hey, try this thing out for us. Let us know how it goes." And we build them here. We have to unfortunately send them out of state to get them anodized, and then they come back and they'll become the standard version 2 of our Arctic Oven tent spider. The rest of this area around me, if I'll just go like this, you can see we got engine mounts hanging here. We've got different legs for different types of gear here. A lot of this area right here is final inspection, red tag, yellow tag, green tag type stuff. And then we'll head out this way. Now I'm going to stop for a second. How am I doing, Steve? Good? Keep going?
You're doing great. No.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Hey, one question came up, Sean. The 4-place is a certified product like with an STC, right?
Right. So I'll just give it exactly the way so on our website, we can't list it as certified because we don't have the STC. But if you basically buy the STC and then you ask us to build this fuselage for you, that's how it's a certified product in that nature, which is what people do. I'd say most of the fuselages in the 4-place we're selling are becoming certified aircraft. It's 1 or 2 of them are going experimental, but so I can't call it certified, but you get it?
Got it. Thanks.
Okay. And if you ever want to talk about how one of those flies, the 2 guys to talk to are Kirk Ellis and Paul Kloss.
Yeah, Paul told us on this program last week or 2 weeks ago that if he had to have 1 airplane, that was it.
It's amazing. I actually own one now, but I haven't flown it yet. I'm waiting for the FAA to sign off on it. So I'll be able to tell you something at the end of the summer. Now we are we're now moving into the sewing area of the facility. There's no one working right now, unfortunately, because there's always something crazy going on in here. Alaska Tent and Tarp, not only do we make the Arctic ovens and all of that stuff, but we make all sorts of Arctic things. We make covers for satellite dishes. We make covers for manholes that keep water from freezing in northern parts of Alaska. We make engine covers for machines, machines on the slope that are going to run 24/7 at -50. So there's usually a constellation of crazy things. This is actually the first place I always stop to find out what we're building today. I keep finding new things that we're building that I never thought we were building. This is also the place, some of you have heard about probably our new Stc Safety Ropes. So we've taken the classic safety cable system for your gear, and we've made a modern version that's half the weight using safety ropes. And the artistry and the competency to build those is very similar to what you do in sewing. You have to basically interlace these ropes in a certain way as you're making these things in order to assure the proper length and the proper strength. So this is also going to be done in this area of the factory. Over here, just a pile of tents coming back. Just so, we know all employees allowed to rent, not rent, but borrow tents for the weekend if they want to get out in Alaska. And in COVID season here, a lot of them have wanted to get out. So these are tents coming back from our employees that will go back into inventory for somebody else. Oh, this is cool. This is actually, it's always hard to show a strut. One of the troubles with running this business is always trying to take a picture of an aircraft strut. It's long, it's boring, but I'll try to give you an example. This is our new aluminum strut. So these are all the pre-cut ends, and then we're going to be riveting in the attach points on both ends. And this is what it would look like if you decided not to paint. It's pretty nice looking silver, and you can save all the weight of the paint, not have to worry about paint. But these are all of these. And then we'll come over to the bushwheel shop. Let's see. Should I enlist someone into service or should I give the tour? You want to help us give a quick little talk? Sure. Okay, yeah, take your mask down. You're approved for mask removal. All right. All right. if you could, in quick terms, just point out what we're looking at and what people do, and we'll try to give people a sense of this part of the factory. Does that sound cool?
All right. Well, this is the tire manufacturing area. We've got parts cutting being done over here.
Gonna help you a little bit.
All the rubber comes in on rolls. See on the shelf there. A bit of it gets cut up into whatever part we assign to it. From there, we come along here.
Okay, you got to talk this way so we hear you.
Got it. The beginning of the process basically starts here, where he's making the bead rings. These are basically the first part that we would assemble, because this is integral to the sidewall of the tire.
Pretty sticky, right? Yeah, they're sticky. Bead ring.
32 wraps of steel wire held together with nylon. Those would come over here and be turned into a sidewall.
So these are the sidewalls, and there's one being made and stretched. And if you look over here, here's the ones that are going on the next tires, all on the shelf by size. Okay, where are we going next?
All right, next we'll catch Chris here while he's emptying a tire.
Okay.
These are our tire molds. These are where the finished product will get cooked off. They get secured, they get pressurized, they get heated. Cook for about an hour and a half to 2 hours, depending on the tire. In fact, we have one that cooks up almost 3 hours. So,
What are we building right here? What's going on in here right now?
this is the tail wheel, our
Baby bush wheel?
The baby bush wheel.
Okay.
Yep. The left-hand side is the airbag, which we built airbags for all of them because they are an integral tube tire. So the airbag gets cooked. After the airbag is cooked, it gets brought over to a station and it gets built into a tire by adding all the extra layers of nylon, Kevlar, tread, what have you.
Perfect. All right, cool.
And here you can see an open mold.
So this is my favorite thing in here, just so you know. This is right here. This is the wrench we use to tighten down the molds before we apply pressure and heat. I come over and just grab it if I want to feel like Thor. Keep going.
That's the small version.
Yeah, that was a little light.
Would you like me to pop this one open? Pull the tire
Yeah,
out?
sure. We have time? Steve, how are we doing on time?
We got all night.
We okay?
Oh, absolutely. We got all night.
All right. The unveiling. Let's see how he does. So we're looking at 29-inch bush wheels. This is the bush wheel coming out of the right out of the mold. Now, something I can explain in the meantime. Making bush wheels is an art form. There's a lot of science involved. Oh, wait a second. Here we go. Look.
You got an airbag coming out.
This is an airbag coming out, a 31-inch airbag coming out. What I was going to say, and he's going to do this one now, but what I was going to say is we have, by the way, I guess another important thing about Airframes Alaska, we have 3 engineers on staff, a senior engineer, a apprentice engineer, or really a basic engineer, but learning from the senior guy. And then we have a guy who's production engineer, deals with all the production issues, quality assurance and things like that. And there's a lot of science in making these, but there's also a lot of art. And one of the goals that we're always trying to figure out here is how we can make the best tire, how we can, first of all, have a very low blem rate, or have one go through this whole process and pass all of its final tests, but also how we keep this product from developing a problem in the field after it leaves the factory, which of course is the worst case scenario where for us financially and for the pilot as well, the whole thing's just a bummer if it doesn't work out right. But the process of making these is actually pretty complicated and pretty fulsome. Here, you're pulling one out now?
That's right. What it does right there is I disconnected the air with, which supplies this with pressure so that it forms into the mold properly.
Here we go. And a bush wheel is born.
That's it.
Is it a boy or a girl? We don't know.
This was boy.
So that's what it looks like here, coming close. And this is what it's going to look like. So it's got all the extra rubber on it. All these little bleeder pieces on it are here. When it goes through final inspection, it goes through, we're going to show you that, I guess, in a minute, but it goes through all sorts of tests, and then it gets trimmed all out before you get it in the field.
All right.
Thank you very much.
No problem.
Let's go this way. Why don't you can you keep the tour going?
Yeah.
All right, let's go.
All right. We're moving along over here. We have our building station.
Yes. We'll put that tire over there. And now I'm going to build a bush wheel tire for you on camera. Just kidding.
Right. Over here, these are our tire building manuals. And we don't have much progress going on any of them right now, but
So this would be the tube.
this is the tube.
So that's the tube that gets cooked first. And then all these materials you see behind him are all different parts of the layering of, you know, making the cake or whatever you want to call it, making the donut, right? So they layered them all on a certain in a certain way, and they interlace them all. And then that whole thing gets put in and cooked and vulcanized in the thing. This is kind of a cool shot. If you want to see down the whole thing here, those are all the factory things where we just were. That'll do it, I think. Thank you, boss.
You're very welcome.
Appreciate it. All right, so come this way. So you saw bushwheels. Give you a sense. I don't know how many people work in this division, 10 or 11, and we build about 50 bushwheels a week. So I'll give you a sense of, you know, rough numbers. And we hope not to have very many blems or rejects in there. Blems and rejects end up down here. So here I'm gonna eat my own duck. Oh, I didn't set this up. This is where all the failed tires go for inspection and rework. Sometimes we can rework them, but most of the time we're just looking to see what failed, so we can go back and look at the process again. These are all bushwheels that failed in an earlier phase. So, you know, this is a tire that didn't pass inspection at the tube basis. This is material. One of the other things we have to deal with is, you know, we're in Alaska and we're getting materials from all over the lower 48. This is material that came and failed. So we had to sort of quarantine this material because it wasn't working right from the vendor. And over here behind me is bushwheels ready to go out. One of the last things that happens is they go through inspection and they get this tag put on them, and that gives us all the relative weights and all the people who inspected them and what day, and, you know, whether they balanced and all that kind of thing. All right, come on this way. Don't trip on this. You see that? Yeah. So we're now at the other side of shipping and receiving. You know, all the FedEx and UPS trucks come up to that door right there, and in the winter they can come right inside, and we got blow heat here for when it gets really windy and cold. These are actually 2 fuselages. I think they're both not shipping. They're being waited. We're waiting for people to pick them up. So the one on my left, I guess now, is a standard size fuselage, and you can see next to it what a 4-place looks like. And then all this right here is shipping and receiving. So again, all the products you buy from us are going to, if they're being shipped in and out of this, you know, to you by, you know, if they're being shipped to you at all, they're probably being handled somewhere through this area right here. One of my favorite things in the new plant is our new air plant. This thing is the coolest thing we purchased for this. It used to be clanking air compressors all over the place. This thing, we actually have a whole air network through the whole facility. And there's our expansion tank, and there's our air compressor, and it is just the greatest thing we bought. Keeps me from going crazy. Okay, now we've gone through all of this. Oh, I got to show you this. I almost forgot. By the way, on the floor, we're in the process of making dip net poles for the Alaskan community. That's all the raw stock that's been cut and being deburred. And there's a big dip net fishery coming up here at the beginning of June, and we supply a lot of aircraft grade products for that market. This center of the factory is run by the R&D team and the engineering team. It's where they're basically setting up projects, working on things, evaluating things. What you see right now ahead of you is, and I'll try to tweak it a little bit. This is actually the, if you will, like almost like it's the test rig for the 3-place fuselage. We're trying to certify the 3-place fuselage. So this rig right here allows us to put all the forces on it and run all the tests required by our STC plan, including this right here, which is a fake set of floats for the test, to test all the float ratings. And then if we come down here, over here at quality control, oh, here's where some of our blems are and rejects. Jason, say hello. If you ever get a product out of us and it's not perfect, it's his fault. Right there. Remember that face. He looks like a gangster almost. Okay, then come down here. This is where we read all the potentiometers, or I don't even know what these things are called, but this is where they do all that. Basically, when they're running their tests, they stand behind this plexiglass and they bounce this frame around and check to see how it performs. Over here is our drop test rig. So when we're testing tires, wheels, brakes, tail wheels, tail springs, this facility, we basically put the amount of weight on it we want. We set the incline so we can test things on an incline or straight. And if it's a big product, we're going to test it on this side of the rig. You can see if you look up here, it goes, you know, kind of a big drop test rig. And then on this side, we test the smaller stuff. So this is the baby tester. So that stuff sort of stays in the middle. Although I'd say this space right here, you know, ebbs and flows with whatever we might be doing. They're going to be setting up a little area here to optimize some of the strut manufacturing for the new aluminum struts. All right, Steve, how am I doing?
You're doing great.
Okay, we're going to head up some stairs now. So we're now moving back into the new building that we added onto this space, and I guess you're going to see me walk up a set of the stairs. Let's go fast. Don't drop your laptop. Okay, so we're now standing on what I like to call the Lido Deck, and here's the Lido Deck. It's I'll explain its purpose here in a minute, but it's a great place to see the whole factory from one spot. So if you want to look, this was a very dingy, dark space before we bought it. We added all the windows, we added all the LED lighting, we repainted everything. Those big yellow things are actually earthquake controls for the building. We got lots of earthquakes up here in Alaska, you know, and you can see all the space that we just traversed in this picture, but it's kind of a fun place to see the whole shop. If you turn around this way, this is actually a second break room for our staff. It's been closed for COVID, but it's another place our employees can come on their break or on their lunch break and hang out. And we've got, you know, TVs usually playing over here. They got refrigerators, microwaves, ovens, and all that. So it's a nice place to do for them to break. Some people like to opt for downstairs. Some people like to be out here and stay in the manufacturing area. We also have an area outside when the weather's good. I was going to say something. I totally. Oh, let me explain one other thing about this, which is when we bought this building, we wanted to build the office space on the outside, and we wanted to make that contiguous with our manufacturing space. And because this building was so old, we had to get a little creative in how we designed the building. So based on modern earthquake code, here, I'll show you this kind of for all you engineers or wannabe engineers out there, we couldn't actually attach anything to this building, or we would have had to make this whole building conform to modern earthquake provisioning or engineering. So what we did is, if you look, behind me is actually the office space. And if you look, I'm standing on a bridge. I don't know if you can see that, but this is you know, that's down below. And I'm standing sort of on this little bridge between the two buildings. Our modern building actually kind of pokes through the wall of the old building, but is not connected in any way to the old building. So that way, the old building in an earthquake can shake at its oscillation rate, and our new building can shake at its oscillation rate, and the two won't collide and rip each other apart in an earthquake. Kind of a fun thing, the way we did it. So as a result, we got kind of this bonus building inside the building, as well as, you know, a building outside the building, if that makes sense. I think it's cool. My kids think it's cool. Now we're going to go up the top floor. I'll let you go first. Okay, so now you're actually in the quiet part of the building. I got to lower my voice. This is where accounting is, HR, engineering, what else? Marketing, sales. Managers sit along this wall here, along this wall right here, and kind of going across. And then, for instance, engineering is right behind me. We have a guy here burning midnight oil. John, turn around, say hello.
Hey, everybody.
What are you working on?
I'm working on doing a drawing update for aluminum struts.
Say it one more time.
Yeah.
Already an update?
Yeah, I'm doing a little drawing update for aluminum struts.
Okay.
For production staff.
What's the last thing you worked on?
I was working on DipNet stuff.
What about before that?
I was working on. I had a meeting with Aviat to get an update to our weld specs so that we can weld Aviat parts.
Right. So we're helping Aviat and building some parts for them here, and so we had to coordinate our two welding specs. Before that, you're working on titanium
Landing gear. Yeah.
All kinds of
titanium
stuff.
flat parts.
Yep. So anything to take weight out of a Super Cub. So coming right in here, we'll go over here and say hello to the CFO. This is the CFO. You can introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Deanna.
Wait, you're watching us on your
I'm
computer.
watching you.
Oh.
I am fact checking you as you go.
Okay, there we go.
You're fast.
So there's Deanna. Okay.
I wanted to show you. I
Oh.
too have a thing for these. I have
Oh.
a couple in my office.
This is if you get in trouble, but if you don't pay your bills to Airframes, she's going to come after you with the handle of Thor.
They're just fun.
they're just fun. They're just kind of cool. They're really heavy. So coming along this way, we have a bunch of Scrum Spaces, I call them, but basically places to sit with staff, strategize about what we're doing. Sometimes it's a marketing plan, sometimes it's a sales plan, sometimes it's an engineering problem or an issue, or all kinds of different things you can imagine come up. And then over here, we've got a free-form space where we also hang out partly in larger groups to kind of talk about a product initiative or something like that we're working on. And then we kind of get you right back to where we started. So if you want to look out the window again, we have a beautiful view. Granted, it's got some holes in it and some ACO stuff that's going away, but we got the mountain view of Palmer. And with that, we're going to be back down in the showroom, and I think we'll be back down in the showroom and ready to take some questions. Here we are, back down in the showroom.
Very good. That was amazing, Sean.
Hopefully that worked for you. I'm going to walk with me as I get my water. Go ahead.
Hey, and while you're talking, one of the questions came up. There's not been too many questions. You were so thorough, but one of the questions that came up was, how do you test for leaks
in the tires?
Yeah,
it's a simple dunk test, like you would do like in a normal tire. It's we just have a big tub of water, and it goes in, and basically the quality control spec says, do you see bubbles in a certain period of time? And if it passes that, first they have to build it. They have to bring it to a certain PSI. And then they put it in the water, and then they give it a certain amount of time, and that's how they test.
Very good.
And that's done 2 times. It's done during the tube creation and also during the final tire creation.
Now, so just kind of a general question with the change in it. I know the season's starting a little slow up there now because of all the stuff going on. Are you, is it a tough time for you guys now too because of all that, or?
Yeah, I think as a company, I think I already said we're about 80 employees overall. We did a small layoff about a month ago just to right size us a little bit to prepare for what we didn't know. We did qualify for a PPP loan, so we got that money last week. But sales are down 20% year on date. So right now, we're feeling, we don't know if that business comes back to us later in the season. In terms of employees, none of our employees have got sick. We've had a bunch of childcare problems, as I think everybody has. And we should try to work through all that. We were closed fully by the state for 2 weeks. We then had a skeleton staff back for 2 weeks, and now we're on this sort of rolled, controlled social distancing type method now.
Right.
And that's about the same for our Anchorage area, and is the same for our Fairbanks area.
Right. So is your shop at Merrill then, is that open to your store?
Yes. So they've gone through sort of a similar iteration. During the 2-week shutdown, we only did AOG events and critical infrastructure stuff, like for state police, electric, basically anything critical we did for that period. Then we went to just curbside pickup, and now we're open with sneeze guards and maximum number of people in the building kind of thing.
Okay, so here's another question. Why do the tent spiders need to be sent out of state to be anodized?
There's no one who does anodizing in the state of Alaska. And I've thought about going into that market, and there's been a couple of people that have come to me and said, well, we'll start it. It turns out I don't know much about the process. As a matter of fact, I had an opportunity to learn some about the process this week because we had some products that had a very poor anodizing finish on them. But I don't think I want to be in that business. I don't think I want to build that competency here. I'm kind of hoping somebody else does, like maybe a powder coat shop we deal with gets into it. But at this point, there's no one up here that does it. Not at our scale.
And somebody asked too, are there people who are building a 4-place plane out of the fuselage you make, or is it just sort of individual restoration folks that do it? Or do you have anybody that's sort of specializing in it, or?
Yeah, so the key authority on 4-place fuselage is a guy named Kirk Ellis, and if you guys have ever seen the Hulk,
right?
I think he's really the one who really started championing the aircraft. I'd say he's pretty much the subject matter expert on them. There's a guy who is an owner in our company, as well as one of our original employees, who's also a welder. He runs a company called, I think it's called AK Skunk Works or something, and he does a bunch of Cub restoration and stuff like that. And he's also incredible at the 4-place, understands all the nuances of it. But we have plenty of people building them on their own, just buying the fuselage and figuring out all the drawings. And, I think we take a lot of when you buy the fuselage, what we did is basically simplify the process. We'll hand you the fuselage, we'll hand you the doors, which are just dizzyingly complex. And we'll give you the cabane, and we'll give you all the parts that are unique to it. And then from there, you can start working on it yourself. It's really not that different. There's obviously rigging complications and things like that, but I would say if you're going to do it, one of the great guys to talk to, and he's just a wonderful person in general, is Kirk Ellis. He's always willing to talk to people. He takes on projects in the winter when he's not working his other businesses, but he'll do, I think this winter he built 2 or 3, 4 places.
Did you ever get your water? Because you might want to get it because you have some more questions coming in.
Okay. So when I took my kids, I had 5 of my kids come through the factory and for a tour, and we went through the whole place, and my kids are like, well, where are the water fountains? And I'm like, oh no, we forgot water fountains. So we now have these really cool water fountains that have been put into the building, and that's where I went, but they just gave me water. Okay, so other questions, what do we got?
Okay, so one question, since we're talking about the 4-place, somebody asked how different's the 4-place from the PA-14?
I can't even. I'm going to reserve that for a real true bush pilot. I would push that one to Paul Claus or Kirk Ellis. I can't even get into it. The simple answer, as I would answer it, is the P-18. It just seems to be a great investment long term. I mean, the beauty of doing this on a P-18 chassis, I like to call our customers. One of our customers came up with this, but I love it, which is it's one of the greatest crowdsourced aircrafts in the world, right? Because there's just so many STCs, so many changes. People are compounding these STCs and doing things. So, for instance, I know one of our customers is buying the 4-place, but he's putting the Willow Mountain cable running in the 4-place, right? So he's doing, he's taking that STC and adding it to that. And so my impression is it might just be, if you're going to pick one or the other, the 4-place might be a better investment. But I can't really compare the flying to them. I have no experience in PA-14.
I'm going to unmute a guy that's got a question with his hand up.
Sure.
Jim Hill, you're on the air.
Hey, a quick question. I've got a 54 Cessna 180 with the 29-inch bush wheels on it. What can I apply to the bush wheels to keep them looking new and shiny? Not detrimental.
Okay, good question. And I am wholly unprepared to answer it. So get your notebook out and just get this 9. We have a pat answer for that, okay? But I know we just actually changed one of the materials that we're recommending for it. One of the things we've done since acquisition is actually taken bush wheels, we've stuck them out in the sun, and we actually have them in a chained off area, and we keep applying different materials to them. I think it's 303, and we've been trying to see what it does to change the lifeline of the tire. The most important thing to the tire is I can tell you the simple answer, but we have a better answer I'll get to you afterwards. Give me your name again so I have it.
Yes, Jim Hill.
Jim Hill. Okay, so Jim Hill. So the key thing, the biggest offender of rubber is UV rays. So, for instance, our Alaska Tent and Tarp group, they build fabric, white, vented covers for your bush wheels so that if they're out in the sun for a long period of time, we're minimizing UV. That being said, I'll tell you, we've now, I think for more than 5 years now, we've had that business, and there are so many variables. We've looked at rubber, we've looked at cook times, we've looked at the rubber components, how the rubber is actually mixed, what's in it, the ratios of all the different materials in it. That's also sort of a wheel deal. Like we'll get material in sometimes and it's all supposed to be the same, but you just know it's slightly different than material before that. So we have stories of people who have been running bush wheels for 10 plus years. And then we have people that come to us in 2 years and say, hey, they're wearing out. And that's part of the reason we have the warranty we do, which is a 5-year warranty, which says that, if you have a problem with your tire within 5 years, we prorate your cost of the tire back to you to a new set, because we've just never been able to get too scientific about how that is. A lot of it has to do with what people use our tires for. We try to be as reasonable as possible on it. But unfortunately, that's probably not a great answer for you, but the best thing you can do is not fly them, put them in a plastic bag underneath your bed, and they'll last forever.
So Thanks for your question, Jim. So what I'd suggest, maybe Ryan can do this. If you guys, because the YouTube video will be out in the live, and if maybe we can put it in the comments, we can put the answers to some of those questions we don't have in the comments, and then we'll.
Ryan's giving me a thumbs up on that.
Okay, good. Beautiful. Okay, got a couple of Chad Johnson wants to know if he has your 10-inch wheels now and would like to go with full bush wheels, the bush wheels that you showed us. Is there a shop in Palmer that can install it if he flies in there this summer? Do you know?
Yeah, we can definitely give him. Yeah, we can definitely give him a reference to a couple. Yeah, have him again. How do we get Steve? You have to tell me how to get in touch with these people. I could give him 5 names of people who could do it.
Okay. All right.
So let me. I'll answer it from a corporate perspective, and for those of you guys who don't know me, this might help answer. If you ask me some fancy question about a Kniffelin pin, I'm just not going to know the answer to it. I ran a bunch of businesses in my past. I'm a software engineer originally. I always wanted to move to Alaska and fly. I finally sold my business and moved here in 2005. But I'm very much so for those of you who knew Bushwheel Bill, I will never be Bushwheel Bill. I run the company sort of on a corporate level. I'm trying to build a business up here in Alaska. I love flying. I love the parts, but I'm not the wrench guy. So if you have questions like that, I probably am going to fall short of what you want to hear. But I will answer that other question in one other way, which is to say, we don't install the wheels and bush wheels ourselves. The local community, the local IAs will do that work, but we have a list of people that we know are close and usually available to do work like that.
So they could get in touch with you and get that list.
Absolutely. And we keep a list on hand. We get asked that question quite often. We won't do it ourselves, but we will recommend a whole bunch of people, and usually one of them works out, especially for a quick job like that.
And then somebody, since you just said you don't know anything about these detailed questions, I'm going to ask a few more. somebody wants to know what the weight difference is in the titanium landing gear from the PA-18.
The early return on that is 11 pounds, 11 pound savings, right at your CG. So they're going to be expensive, but we're trying to make them exactly the same, identical basically to our steel landing gear, so that our approval process is short. We're doing a bunch of field testing this summer. We've hired a bush pilot to go out and do some testing on it. But there are going to be a significant weight savings right where you want it. So we're pretty excited. But again, more to come. That product's a year out, at least.
Somebody was asking too about comparing the PA-14 to a mall and that sort of thing, or the 4-place Super Cub to a mall, that kind of thing. And is there a spot, if they go on your website, do you have the specs and that sort of stuff on there for that?
Yeah, there's on our
weights and those kinds of things.
Yeah, you're going to see, again, because we're not the STC holder, we're not going to have, if you're thinking about stall speeds and things like that, we don't have any of that.
Right.
I think we have specifications on things like, the weight of the frame, what it takes to basically turn a standard PA-18 into a new PA-18, or into a 4-place PA-18. And what I would recommend is, well, maybe what you do is you're answering a question for us. Maybe what we should do is just do a video just on, talking to these guys about what it's like to fly a 4-place. And we could just get Kirk Ellis and Paul Claus in there and just ask them to riff on it. That would probably be the best answer to that.
I think people would enjoy watching that video. I know I would.
Okay, well, we'll get that in the works.
That's very cool. Let's see. There's not a whole bunch more questions. Let me just check with this guy. Jim, did you have another question? I noticed your hand was still up.
No, but I could ask one.
Blue. My favorite color is blue.
Being an AMP and an IA, I'm always fascinated about approval processes, and I've managed to get just about everything through on getting them approved. But I'm wondering if you have any approval issues on putting the bush wheels on.
On other aircraft?
Yeah, on other aircraft.
So aircraft that aren't under our current TSO and stuff.
Exactly.
No, and usually we work pretty well with people who need to do that. We will provide engineering data, usually support a field approval on something like that. So if that's what you're asking, that's happened on a regular basis. The the key thing is going to be really the most important thing really is, as I understand it, is, you would know this probably better than me, but it's okay, the gross weight of the aircraft and your landing speed. And we have helped people do that on aircraft that aren't, one of the standard ones on our STCs and on our standard data right now, approved models list. But again, you basically would call into sales. Sales then basically creates a tracker into our engineering staff, and our engineering staff then reaches out, and we try to facilitate that as much as we can.
Very good. Well, Sean, thank you very much for your time today. Is there anything else you want to tell us about?
Well, we appreciate all your business. We appreciate you listening today. I think as a company, we're growing quickly. We're trying to do a lot of things. We're not always perfect. And we appreciate it when our customers tell us we're not perfect, just as much as we want to tell us we're perfect. So always feel free to reach out. And we're all trying. I mean, one of the things I mentioned, we have 5 pilots that work here as well, and we try to live this and build this stuff. So, and lastly, of course, if COVID's ever over and you're ever in Alaska, you got to come by for the dime tour, right, in person, right? And by then it'll be even cooler. Right. I guess that's all I can say.
Well, you just took 130 people on a tour, so
okay, cool.
That's pretty good. So it's a little more efficient than probably the normal way you do it, right?
And I didn't have to feed them.
That's right. Well, thanks again so much, and thanks Ryan for being the tripod during the whole process.
Ryan. Hello.
So thanks again, and this will be if folks, if you want to refer this to somebody else, this will be live on YouTube, or I mean it'll be on YouTube stored on there. So if people want to watch it later, they sure can. And great tour. Thanks again, Sean. I appreciate it.
All right, take care. Bye bye.
All right, bye bye now.